So welcome to Chip on Cars. Got a little bit of a different video today on the Learning to Drive channel. So Sid, my son, is learning to drive, as we know. Today he's going to be learning to drive in this car. So it's a bit different to the Suzuki Jimny that he's been learning to drive in up to this point. So basically we've got insurance through the Austin 7 Clubs Association. We've managed to get insurance for him to be a learner driver on a vintage car, which is really exciting. But there are some significant differences, so we're going to explore those while Sid gets to grip with driving this as opposed to driving a Suzuki Jimny. So let's take a look, see how we get on. Right then, so here we are inside the car. So first thing to note, it's very much more cramped in here than it is in a Suzuki Jimny. So we've got L plates on, so perfectly legal to be out here doing this. So let's get the engine fired up first of all, Sid. So Sid has driven this car off-road at car shows and events. He's changed gear using this car, so he is quite familiar with it, just not on the road yet. So we've just got some learner insurance. First thing to note for you guys, not so much for Sid, is that we've got a manual choke, a couple of pegs there holding the choke out at the moment because the engine's not long been started up. In a modern car, obviously the choke is automatic. You don't even know it's got a choke, it just does all that for you. So that just helps the engine when it's cold, basically. So 1935 this car was built, not much in it is automatic. So let's get going then, mate. So you know how to pull this away. The biting point on this car is significantly different. It's more like a button rather than a biting point in a modern car. We'll go left, please. Yes, go left. Our indicator switch is down here. We've actually fitted flashing indicators to this car to make it more acceptable on the roads. We've actually got semaphore indicators that come out the side of the car, which we'll maybe get a chance to show you in a minute. But let's just concentrate on driving, because this car is a little bit different to driving it. So we're out moving now, so we're driving in third gear. You can see Sid's going quite gingerly around the corners here because our suspension isn't that great, and we don't have very good brakes in a vintage car. So we'll go a little bit further along here, so we'll actually test out how good or bad the brakes are. Let's get onto a nice straight bit, and I'll make sure no one's behind us before we do this. So there's a reasonably straight bit coming up. I'll just check behind. Yeah, there's no one behind. So just brake firmly and bring us to the butt stop. Cool. Okay, so you see there that from drive away. From a relatively slow speed, probably about 20-ish miles an hour, the speedo doesn't work terribly well, so we don't know for sure. We took quite a distance there to stop, so in the Suzuki Jimny we'd have stopped in about half that distance, wouldn't we? So let's bear that in mind as we're going around these corners then. And the next thing to note is that we've got sync mesh on the gearbox in this car, but it's a 1930s sync mesh, so it's 90 odd years old. It's seen some abuse over its lifetime. So we're in fourth gear at the moment. We're coming up to a bit where we're going to need to change down a gear. So you know how doubly clutching works, don't you, Sid? So basically I'll explain it to you guys. So to doubly clutch is what Sid will do in a moment, is he'll lift off the gas pedal and start braking. He'll bring the speed down, but before he takes the next gear down, he'll have to put the clutch pedal down. He's got a normal one in there. He'll have to put the clutch pedal down, and then he'll have to put the car into neutral, and then he'll have to rev the engine up with the car in neutral, just to put a bit of speed onto the cogs in the gearbox.
Are they going right?
That's down this road. And then he'll have to put the clutch down again and take the lower gear, which sounds like quite a lot, but you can do it in quite a short amount of time. So let's give that a go here, Sid. So I know we don't need second at the moment, but just lift off the gas, that's a gently brake. So clutch pedal down, into neutral, rev the engine up, and then clutch pedal down again, there you go, into second. So he managed to get it there into second gear. It took a little bit longer than it would have done in a modern car, but he did it without the gearbox crunching at him. So this car does have sync mesh, like I said, but it's very old. So if we change a gear and it's quite a nice easy gear change, we can do it slowly, then we don't need to doubly clutch. But sometimes when we've got a significant drop in speed, then we'll have to use the doubly clutch. So as you can see, Sid's taken to this very well. He's driven this car off-road, so driving it out on the road for the first time isn't too significant for him, but it would be quite significant for another driver who's not used to driving vintage cars. So you probably can't notice it so much on the camera, but the car is a bit bumpy in places. So we've got something called bump steering. So when we go over a bump, the car will naturally want to steer itself because of the geometry on the axles, front axles. The car is prone to bump steer.
The steering's also got lots of play in it, which doesn't make it easier.
Yeah, the steering box is 90 years old and it's got a significant amount of play. Plus the car's following the dips in the road, isn't it? You probably noticed that. It's sort of following, they call them like the tram lines. On a road like this, where cars tend to only drive down the middle of it, then the middle of the road is quite a lot higher than the outsides, which does mean if we stray from one side to the other, the car will follow the dip to the road a lot more than a modern car would do. And if you're driving on a road that lorries drive in a particular lane, like the left-hand lane on a dual carriageway, then lorries tend to be heavier and they tend to leave deeper grooves, and you find yourself following the grooves. You find it difficult to steer out of the grooves. Well, not difficult, but you know, it's just noticeable, whereas it's not noticeable in a modern car. Okay, so we've got the gearbox being a bit more challenging to use. Obviously the car's very much underpowered, it's 90 odd years old. The brakes are significantly more difficult to use. We need to anticipate well ahead, start braking early, and for a corner like this we just need to be a bit more prepared. If we need to stop for an oncoming vehicle, then we would have had to have been braking a bit sooner than we would do in a modern car, and that just requires a little bit more forward thoughts, and looking well ahead. And we've got the suspension. Obviously the geometry of the suspension is primitive, but it's reasonably comfortable to be in a car like this. There we go, the car just went past us there. So Sid was well prepared. He was going at a perfect speed for the conditions. He was able to move well over and let the lady through. That's probably the first time she's seen a learner driver in a vintage car as well, I should imagine. Okay, well, thank you for watching the channel. We've got more work to do teaching Sid to drive. Obviously driving a car like this isn't going to make passing his driving test any easier for him. It's just added experience, and it all goes together. It all makes him a better driver all round. And Sid's working in a vintage vehicle restoration workshop, so he needs to be used to driving vehicles like this for his job, if nothing else. But we'll continue working on passing the driving test out in the Jimny. Subscribe to the channel if you want to see what we're up to out in the Jimny. We've got some videos out there already with roundabouts and such. The roundabouts videos on the screen now. Take a look at that if you want to watch it.